Hey friends, I'm Tamara Bennett from Adoornments Decor, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about the different types of brushes and their sizes. So we have four main types of brushes that I know of, and they are filbert tip. See, the filbert tips are identifiable because they look somewhat flat, like a flat tip brush, but instead they have a nice rounded tip, almost like the tip of like an oval fingernail. And so they come in a variety of sizes. These are sets that I sell in my shop. They come all the way from a small all the way up to a large, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Then you have your, these are all discombobulated flat tip brushes. See how compared to the filbert tip, it's like your square tip fingernails almost, where the ends are completely blunt and flat along the tops. And so those are great for a variety of reasons as well, but they are called flat tip brushes. Next, we have angle tip brushes. Now, this set here comes with a variety of sizes, but see how it looks like a flat tip brush, except that the bristles reduce in height as you go down, creating an angle. So those are angle. And then the fourth type, I don't actually have a package of because we are out of them in my shop, but I will show you a variety of some of them here that I have right beside me. They are called round tip brushes. So all of these are good examples of round tip brushes. See how they're pointed and long and narrow? This would be a larger size round tip brush, and this would be a smaller size round tip brush. Sometimes they come to a really fine little point like this one, and sometimes they have more of a blunt point like this one, but they are considered round tip brushes. So these are good for different things like highlighting, outlining, detail work, maybe even lettering, things like that. So I'm going to angle my camera down, and then I'm going to kind of demonstrate each type of brush and the types of strokes you can make. I'm going to be using a flat tip brush. This is a smaller flat tip brush. You can also get them quite large, like this one here. And I love to use these for background applications. So if I'm painting a really large area, I might want to use this one. If I'm painting a somewhat smaller area, I would want to use this one. And so you load your brush up like this, and then you can lay your brush flat and do long back and forth sweeping strokes to get a nice even coverage on your background. So see how in a short amount of time I was able to cover that nice little area. Now you can also use the precise corners of brushes like this to, instead of doing it like this in a sweeping manner, you could hold it straight up and down to create a more narrow line. So if I needed to, make the petals of a flower, I could do that and just fill them in by flattening the brush out to do the fill-in part. So with this sharp little corner up here, we're able to create a nice point. You can't do that with a filbert tip brush. So that is a flat tip brush, and they, like I said, come in a variety of sizes, and so there are all different kinds of uses for them. Let's go ahead and talk about the filbert tip brushes next. So here is an example of a filbert tip brush. Like I said, it's rounded on the end. It's kind of like the flat tip brush, but it's rounded. So we're going to get our yellow paint again. We can cover a background with this area. If it's a larger filbert tip brush, you can cover the background just like you did with that one. But you cannot create a nice, fine, detailed point like you can with that one. But what you can do is you can use it to create rounded areas. So if you had to do a polka dot, a filbert tip brush is a nice one to do polka dots with, because the way those bristles at the tip are rounded, it allows you to do rounded shapes really nicely. You can also use them for hand lettering. If you wanted to do some really nice just plain letters, we'll do the letter T since my name starts with a T. Push down, lift up immediately, and you have a nice little edge there. You can even clean it up a little if you like. Push down, lift up, and see how we've got a nice letter there. So filbert tip brushes can be good for that as well. And like I said, the set that we sell in my shop has a bunch of different sizes. So the one that I'm using is actually a size 9, which is like this size here. But imagine if you were using these teeny tiny ones for some really detailed, small, teeny tiny lettering. It would be really, really good for that. Okay, and next up is the angle tip brush. Angle tip brushes are good for a variety of different techniques. Here's one that I have here. We'll just get our paint. Again, you could create some really nice petal shapes like for a leaf, and see that one, that was even prettier than the one we created up here. See how when I went around this way, the edge of the angle allowed it to bow out and create a nicer shaped leaf. You can also use these for like shading and stuff. So let's double load our brush with a little bit of green. See, on the bottom edge I have a little bit of green, on the top edge I have a little bit of yellow, and we can do strokes like this to create a nice shaded, it shades from yellow into green right there. Now round tip brushes, round tip brushes like these that are nice and pointed are great for a variety of things. Let me get a little bit of paint here. You can do like vines. You can outline things. Like if I wanted to give this letter T a drop shadow, I could do that with a round tip brush, just like that. You could also use it for highlighting. So if we wanted to add a cute little highlight to that leaf or a highlight to that dot, that is what a round tip brush is really good for. Also, if you wanted to do lettering, this takes some practice, but you can use a heavy downstroke and a stroke to do lettering. So I'm going to use a light pressure here, go up to make the shape of a letter L, and then push and flatten my brush out as I come down. Now I'm going to need some more paint to make that look nice. But see how I pushed and flattened my brush out as I came down. I know that's upside down for you all, but we're going to do a nice heavy stroke down, a light stroke up. Let me get a little bit more paint. This cardboard is soaking it up. And see how, depending on how you change the pressure of your brush on the canvas or the door hanger or whatever, it allows you to create different strokes. And so right here, I'm just kind of demonstrating how I would use a round tip brush for lettering by changing the pressure that I put on the brush. So those are the four main types of paint brushes that I use: filbert tip, flat tip, round tip, and angle brushes. Like I said, right now we are all out of the round tip brushes in our shop, but we're going to be getting some more in soon. But we do have the angle, the flat tip, or sorry, the filbert tip and the flat tip. So depending on your different needs, you could buy different sets. If you're like me and you want each set with all the sizes, go get each set with all the sizes. But if you're tight on your budget and you want to try maybe one of each, you could try an assortment pack like this that we have in our shop. This one does not come with any of the angle tip brushes, but it does have a flat, a filbert, and several rounds in different sizes, and even a flat tip in a smaller size there, and a filbert tip. So there's two sizes of filbert there, and two sizes of flat, and then the rest are all round. So if you need a nice little variety pack, this one comes with 10 of all different shapes and sizes. So I hope this was a helpful video for you guys to understand all the different kinds of brushes that are out there and what they can be used for. Get out your brushes, play around with them, figure out what kind of strokes you can use for things. Me, myself, I tend to always gravitate toward the flat tip brush for whatever reason. I feel like it's so versatile because I can cover a large area, or I can turn it up on its side and do a nice little delicate area. And so I go with that one and the round tip more often than any of the other ones. But it's nice to always have lots in our like can of brushes over here, like in our stash. There's also one like this called a fan brush, which can be fun for all kinds of different techniques. So there's all kinds of specialty brushes out there, but those are the four main types, and I wanted to tell you about them today. And I do recommend that you get them in a variety of sizes because it really can help when you're working on door hangers and you need to be able to get in a tight area and you don't want to you know, get paint all over the place by using a larger brush that might not work well.